Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Starting with the 1.1, acknowledgement of treaties of peace and friendship. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which Maliseet, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Maliseet title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. 1.2, reaffirm our oath of office. We do hereby accept the office of council and will diligently, faithfully, and impartially discharge to the best of our ability the duties of the office as may be imposed upon us by law. And we'll move to adopt the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
If I could, Your Worship, I'd just like to make a statement concerning Beldoon Days and its success, if I could.
Anybody else? So
Motion 85 that the agenda be adopted as amended with changes.
can I get a mover?
So moved.
Seconder?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by raising your hand.
Mr. Mayor, Councilors Burke, Carrier, Cormier, Robinson, and Hickey have all voted in favor. There were no votes opposed. The motion is carried unanimously.
Section 3, statements of conflict of interest. None. No presentations, petitions, or delegations. So we'll move on to section 5, which is a closed session. We'll start with the 5.1.
Motion 86, be it resolved, the council continue its meeting in a closed session to discuss matters under the Local Governance Act, Section 68(1)(c), information that could cause financial loss or gain to a person or the local government or could jeopardize negotiations leading to an agreement or contract.
So I need a mover.
So moved. Oh, sorry.
Seconder?
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by, or question? Okay. All those in favor?
Mr. Mayor, Councilors Burke, Carrier, Cormier, Robinson, and Hickey have all voted in favor. There were no votes opposed. The motion is carried unanimously.
So we're going to move to a closed session. So I guess we're going to move right into number 6, starting with 6.1, bylaw and policy review, starting with the mayor and council remuneration bylaw.
Okay, so we've got this one. I think that you, council collectively, just about has this one wrapped up. There was a couple points that Councillor Cormier had raised just for clarity on some of the ones. I think if we just make sure that those are captured in the bylaw, then we can probably take whatever information council's looking to provide. Staff can go out and do the final draft of this bylaw and potentially get the first and second readings done for the August council meeting. I suppose what we could do is maybe everyone's got a hard copy of the remuneration bylaw. So we can maybe run through that. It's not a very big one. We can kind of go through it real quick just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Councillor Cormier had noted the bylaw number was, there was a duplicate on each one. So we just have kind of a spreadsheet that we run our policies and bylaws on. So these two were being worked at the same time. So that's no problem. We'll just change one of them. One would be 2026-03 and the next one will be 2026-04. So we'll just, you know, if this one's going to get passed first, we'll just make sure that the one has the sequential number. In the first preamble of the remuneration bylaw, we have updated to the Local Governance Act. So that's been captured. There's the short title, composition. Remuneration has been updated to just collect the actual payment and not the range. Down in the per diem section, the adjustments that council had discussed it at the previous working session have been captured. However, there was from Councillor Cormier just a bit of clarity because we still have in this section, it specifies outside the boundaries of the municipality. So I don't know, Brenda, if maybe you were just looking for, you wanted it specified the 30 kilometers outside?
Well, I don't even know if the 30, in my opinion, 30, again, that's me. I just don't feel it appropriate to take a per diem to go to a meeting in Dalhousie or to go to a meeting in Bathurst. But that's just me. Maybe if all the rest of the council are good with it. But I just would like it more clarified that it would be more in terms of, like I said, if it came down to if it was required an overnight stay, then a per diem was eligible. But I'll let the council discuss it more.
I did a little bit of exercise today on my way home, and it's about 25.5 kilometers from the Belding border to Vanier interchange. So I look at it this way, and it's about 30 kilometers roughly to Dalhousie. So if we were going to Miramichi, I would say, yeah, we would put in a or mileage rates or mileage expenses, or the other way to Campbellton. But in terms of Bathurst and Dalhousie, I would say that would be part of our regular duties, and it wouldn't be.
You had mentioned like mileage. I think the mileage is collected whether you're going to Bathurst or, you know, if you use your card to go to Bathurst, it's the $100 per day per diem type. That I have more, like, yeah, I don't expect somebody to take their car and drive to Bathurst and not get mileage. I mean, that's only, you're getting back expense. It's just when it comes to the per diem part that I feel that maybe it should be a little bit broader than just outside of the boundaries of Beldoon.
If I may, Mr. Mayor? Brenda, I believe what you're saying is it's just about the per diem for that day. It's not about your expenses, meals, and travel. It's just that per diem. We don't need it because we're not going to be spending an overnight. Clear, right? Okay.
That's just my thoughts. Like I said, I feel that it should.
But if you did, sorry, Ron, if you did include it, the 30 kilometers in the per diem, then I think you're probably covered, right? Because then that specifies that you're, am I inaccurate in that? That would say that Bathurst and Dalhousie are within that 30 kilometers, so you wouldn't, you wouldn't be capable of getting the. Now, what happens if there's, you would never get into a situation where you're going to Bathurst overnight, right? So,
Although it's been known to be suggested before.
so if you did include the same type of language that you have in your travel expenses, if you did include the 30 kilometer outside of the boundary, would that satisfy that you wouldn't be able to collect, you know, a per diem? You wouldn't be able to collect a per diem from Beldoon to Bathurst or anything in a 30 kilometer.
I think for,
If I may, Your Worship? I don't know if council has looked at the price of gas recently. You know, at the end of the day, you know, when you start talking about the trips that you can make to Bathurst, you can make more than one in a week, pretty easy, when things are going down and they're making announcements and things like that. For me, those type of things, I don't have a problem with saying it on paper, like, you know, 30 kilometers or whatever. I mean, Bathurst alone is 23.5 kilometers long, or Beldoon alone is 23.5 kilometers long. So when I leave my house, I've already traveled 23 kilometers just to get out of the village, you know? So with that said, it comes down to that, you know, in all honesty, those type of things should be at the discretion of the councillor. I mean, if I'm going to Bathurst and I feel that it was a business-orientated meeting, then I should be entitled to claim the mileage. That's how I feel.
Just to clarify, that's not what I was saying, or that's how, I think we clarified the last time. Just because the meeting is 30 kilometers, like, from the boundary, you collect your mileage from the time you leave home. You don't collect it from the time you get to the boundary and beyond. The mileage rate is based on, I left home, I'm going to Bathurst, you got 50 kilometers, somebody else got 35. You both get to claim your mileage. It just has to do about the per diem per day, that what they're discussing. All the expenses in relation to mileage is a definite,
Okay.
from the time you leave home till you get your destination, that mileage is claimed.
Okay.
yeah, and there should be some wording around, like, in relation to overnight stay, or if a overnight stay is deemed necessary because of the nature of the meeting, like say if you had a meeting in Miramichi where you're there late at night, and say if it's in the winter and the weather was bad, well, there's some justification to stay overnight. So to me, it should be discretionary based on, but in terms of staying in Dehaussy or Bathurst, I agree, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, and per diem is not warranted.
Okay, so is there anything, I just want to make sure we're clear on it, because it does fall on administration to sort of facilitate this, right? So is there any changes then that we're doing with the language on per diem? Are we going to add, in that section there, are we going to specify, like we have, you know, attending meetings, seminars, conference, training sessions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, of the municipality outside the boundaries of the municipality? So does council want to leave that as is, or do we want to specify that the per diem is only for the training sessions, conferences, seminars, et cetera, that are 30, again, this is not mileage, mileage council can collect, but are we specifying that it's 30 kilometers outside of the boundaries of the municipality in this section? Or are we fine as is?
I would say we could add that number, 30, as our base number. And like in Ron's case, where you leave and you're already 23 kilometers after the 30, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the per diem.
You were just talking about the per diem, yeah.
Yeah.
So like you got something to do, Jimmy, you got to run down to Bathurst for municipal business. You leave your house, you'll collect your mileage. You'd be able to do that and say, yeah, I'm collecting my mileage. I got to go down to Bathurst. I got to come back. It was municipal business. You're not out of pocket for that. It's just that extra $100 because you're there for a full day. You go down and you're there for the entire day. It was an 8-hour day. Because it's within 30 kilometers, you wouldn't be applicable for the per diem. You only get your mileage and meal expenses. Right. Okay, so staff then will add in the 30 kilometers outside of the boundary for the per diem? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And again, it's still, and you've got it noted in there, it's, each individual counselor can choose that on their own. Like, I mean, it's not a must.
Yep.
It's,
Okay, and then we did make the changes there for the sections because the section numbers did change. So it references that when you're claiming the per diem, then you can't do, it's either one or the other, like Brenda just mentioned. Members can choose between one of the two. But it is section 8 and 9 now that actually references the meal expenses. So we changed that just so those were. So then getting into related expenses, number 6 was left. Number 7 was left. Number 8 and number 9, one of these is for local expenses and one is for out of village expenses.
I think we had intended to amalgamate both of those.
Yeah, I
we
think
didn't
that
need both.
because it's kind of redundant, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. So, sure. So that's what we'll do then is we'll combine 8 and 9, but we'll just reword it so it specifies both local expenses and out of village expenses. And then if we do that, we'll be able to eliminate one of those sections because it's the exact same thing outside of that. Okay, perfect. We can do that. Okay, outside of that, we got into lodging. So we've changed hotels and motels to accommodations. Outside of that, there was nothing else in lodging. Transportation is there. None of that has been adjusted, I don't believe.
Excuse me,
we-
Lyman, can I ask you a
Yep.
question? So you and I had a discussion in the office, and I brought up the question to you about myself. Like, I have my own, there's no other income, it's just me. So I want to make sure that if I'm traveling, I want to be reimbursed. If I'm missing a day, I'm not paid. So
Okay, that's a
I
little
want
bit
to
fur-
make sure that that covers me, because I'm not going to be running all over.
Yeah, we haven't got there yet.
Okay.
It's still in there yet. It's number 13 in the hard copy. Yeah. So number 12 is the rental vehicle. And then we did add language there just to say whenever possible, the accommodations for rental vehicles will be made by the administration. And number 13, we didn't touch. That's the one, Don, that you're referencing. So it's the exact same. If you have missed wages, you had to take a unpaid day, then you can come in with your proof of wage loss and be compensated for that. That's number 13. That hasn't been touched. Number 14, we adjusted. So Brenda has provided the correct dates for when the original remuneration bylaw was passed. So that's been adjusted to capture that date. We changed the effective date just to say the present bylaw comes into force on the date of the final reading and enactment. And we also added in a line for council to review this, which is a good practice to have in all of your policies and bylaws. Something like this, I don't know if council wants to say, once a year that they're going to do it, once every 2 years, once every term. Council can direct the staff on that.
I would say every 2 years would be a good term of reference, just even as a refresher. So midway through your term. Yeah.
have my, like I was saying, so we'd have one review in 2028 for us, and then 2030 there's election. It would be a new council come in, and it would be on them to.
Which is actually a good idea, right? Because
Yes.
then as
Yeah.
a new council comes in, it's sort of on their plate.
Yeah.
This is one of the things, and then administration that gives us the continuity to do it. So, yeah, sure. So if we want to put in 2 years on that.
I noticed there was just one thing we had talked about before, and I had mentioned about reporting, and I'd like a report prepared monthly with each council member's remuneration and expenses and posted to the Village of Belden website. I put that in here as a number 14 and then, or a number, yeah. Yeah, I put that in as a number 14, and then the repeal as a number 15, and the effective date is number 16. and
Okay.
then- Yeah. because we had talked about it, and, so.
Okay, so,
I can send you that updated version.
Yeah,
If council agree that that's good.
so was that in the last
We
copy
had
that
talked
you had sent
about
out?
it at our last, when we were reviewing this at the last meeting, that that report should be posted monthly, on the website.
Okay, so that's gonna be a report that's generated by administration that, of the expenses that gets
Yeah.
posted on the website. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's already a template there for it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, and that can be added in. If council wants that added in, then we can, add that in.
If I may, Your Worship, just a comment. I don't know, we are going to have an extremely difficult time balancing our budget. And in my opinion, that budget will be here sooner than later. So I'd like council's opinion on having our CAO and our clerk treasurer having conversations about the budget so that they can plan on bringing, the information to council prior to the meeting. I don't want to spring a meeting on them, and I say it that way because, we can be as demanding as we want to be, but at the end of the day, none of us are doing the work. We're asking people that they are accountable to council. I recognize that, but by the same token, if I use a half-ton truck to haul a trailer, it can haul it, but by the same token, it will burn out. And my point to all that is, I'm not opposed to dealing with the procedural bylaws and the policies that are on, but in my opinion, at this time, they should kind of take a second tier, not a first tier. The budget, in my opinion, is going to be extremely difficult for council to deal with. It's not going to be done in one meeting. It'll take a lot of challenges for council. So my point is, I'd like to give the direction to our CAO and our clerk treasurer that the budget is going to take a priority over everything else until we settle that. If you have time to deal with the policies and procedures and bylaws, I don't have an issue with that. But my point is, I don't want to have 15 meetings on the budget. The clerk treasurer and our CAO can deal with a lot of issues if they have time to be able to plan that. And I'd like to see that. I'd like council to be able to give them the direction that this is where we're going to go over the next, if I were to say the next 2 months, August and September. Because we are accountable to have our budget in by the 15th of November. So that'll be here before we know it. So just my thoughts, and I don't know how the rest of council feels, but that's where I'm at.
On that note, I just wanted to add to it, as we had talked about possibly a standing committee on the budget, and I think the budget this time around merits that level of effort, not only by staff, but by members of council. So that's something that even myself as mayor would be interested in sitting on to support the staff on making sure that we hit our targets for our budget review.
Again, I think I know we have a lot of work to do on bylaws and policies. We have a lot. There's some that's old, gotta be gone. There's other ones that I know the CAO wants to have to give him his job, that he can do it much easier without having to come to council. So if we can get the remuneration one and the procedural one done, we can just take a step back, dig into the budget, and then after that's in place, then we can start working on those again. I think these two are the key ones right there now up front. And once that's done, like I said, I have no problem taking a step back on the others until we get our budget.
Just from the staff perspective, and the clerk treasurer can certainly contribute, like her 2 cents to it too as well. But the way that we sort of see this unfolding, I think that council is doing this the right way, and I really don't think that you're biting off more than we can chew. If that's I'm making this up as I go. So I actually like what you're doing here, because we've already established, and what we're doing here in the committee of whole, this is sorely needed, right? And administration, I can tell you, is just as excited as you guys are to kind of get this, because this really helps us to do our jobs. But we've already established the next budget meeting, which is great. So what we're going to do at the end of this one is that we'll just formalize that next meeting that you have, which I think is for sometime next week. Next Tuesday, right? We'll do that. At the culmination of that meeting, council will be taking the lead, saying, okay, we're now going to set the next one. When is that going to be? We'll capture that in our meeting minutes, and that'll be your trigger to do it. And then whenever we get through the procedural bylaw to the point of us looking at whether or not council wants to put in the committee of whole as a prescribed thing, then you could very easily just set that up so that it's formalized. The first Monday of every month, you are going to have a committee of whole meeting, and there's a standing item for policy and bylaw review. So if ultimately you don't have anything to discuss, or we get up to speed, I don't see that happening, but if we ever get everything up to 2026 standards, no problem. You don't need to have the meeting, right? And then you do it. But right now, the way that you're going is great. You've got the budget meeting set up. I would totally echo what you're saying. We know that's the priority for you guys. After next week's meeting, I'm going to fully anticipate that you're going to say, great, good progress. The next meeting is this date at this time, and we're getting back into the budget again, right? So. Okay, on the remuneration bylaw, I think that we're okay. I think that we've got the marching orders on that. I don't want to overstep, Angela. From my side, the whole reporting thing, to me, we kind of do that anyway. So now it's just a matter of, because we're receiving in remuneration forms from council, that's what the trigger for us to, so we're receiving in the information, we're receiving in your expenses, we just have it in an unrefined format right now. So I think if we just come up with a template that's council's comfortable with, we just really take the information that we're receiving in and put it on the website.
Yeah, and I mean, even with the clerk treasurer, I mean, you know, she can use some of the other employees in the office to, once the template is set up, and hand them and say, like, can you fill this out? And you know, give it back. It doesn't have to fall right directly on both of you guys' shoulder. You have two other staff in the office that can help.
The only comment I want to make on that is that if we're going to post it every month, just sort of be aware that prior month's expenses are going to change, because it's not just the expenses that you guys are putting in. So sometimes we're late getting invoices, things like that. So if all of a sudden we've put an order in for clothing, let's say for staff, that's getting posted to your line, maybe it was paid for by the credit card, so now it's even a little bit later and things like that. So if all of a sudden we're putting in, we say, okay, you know, we're August, I've got all July expenses in, and then all of a sudden next month you look at it and you're like, what happened to July? Why did July go up? Well, invoices came in after, so there's always going to be a lag. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that, that past months will fluctuate depending on what we've received.
The reporting that you're looking for is specific to the remuneration bylaw? Yeah. Councils, yeah. Yep. Okay, all right.
We're going to move on to the next.
I think so. That's good. So that's great for us. Hopefully, we're going to have that prepared. We'll work on that. We'll do the final drafts. We'll get that out to council. We'll look for feedback, make sure that the wording that we've used is accurate for what you're looking to try to achieve. And then if council rubber stamps that, then we'll have it on the August regular meeting for the first and second reading. Awesome. Okay, well, we can go on to the procedural bylaw. So I've provided a hard copy of that. I apologize for the stapling. It wasn't my fault. We had some issues with the photocopier. When it gets humid, the sheets don't come out properly. So it's a little... the adjustments there, so again, the bylaw number will adjust. This will be 2026-04, presuming that it's going to be the next in line to be adopted. The preamble at the beginning has been adjusted, so all those items are changed in red. The title has been added in interpretation. Outside of that, all of your information in interpretation is the same. Councillor Cormier might have to chime in here because I do think that she had one of the definitions. So the changes that council had discussed at the last working session are all captured in red font under definitions, but I believe there might have been another one that you added to.
The one in reference to refer or defer. So I did go back to Robert's Rules of Order and I did check and it says refer. And what it says refer, and where is my, there's another line to add to that, I guess. So wait there, as soon as I get it. So in the initial one you guys have, it says refer means if you need more time to research the topic, defer the motion to another body or committee for further study, advice, or action. So that's the way Robert's Rules of Order sort of reads that.
Okay.
So that's where the defer comes from the refer.
So what we'll do is we'll update this working copy that we have. We'll update that to include that language.
Yeah, I can
And
send that
that
to
came
you.
from Robert's Rules. So we'll make that adjustment. And what we'll do is the next draft that you receive of this, everything that you see in red font here is going to be in black font. So that'll all be adjusted and it's all stuff that you've discussed. So we're going to operate as if we're moving it forward. So any changes that we make on the next iteration of this will be captured in red font. All of this red that you see right now will be black. Okay, that's cool. So we can add that. We did include, I think you and I were working off a lot of the same documents, Brenda, because I had Maryland's and I had a few different procedural bylaws in front of me, so I know that this has been used under the B application. 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 have all been added in. So that's similar to what we see in other procedural bylaws. And at the last session, I believe that we made it all the way through here, and then we got right up to item C. So beginning, sorry?
No, I'm just saying, I noticed that the A, B, like the C is application, the D is vote. See if you go back at the information.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna have to, yeah.
Just try to get that number.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get the, yeah, we'll update with, yeah, A title, B definitions, yeah. So we'll do that, all the table of contents and all that, we'll make sure that those are all accurate. Okay, so roles and duties, you have outlined the mayor, the item 1 is the mayor. So the mayor shall chair at all meetings of council, except as provided for or otherwise in this bylaw, provide leadership to council, communicate information and recommend actions to council for the improvement of the municipality's finances, administration, and governance, speak on issues of concern to the municipality on behalf of council, and perform any other duties conferred upon him or her by this bylaw or any act or by council.
I noticed at the last, when we get into, I'm just trying to find a page here. Just back up one, on the Robert's Rules of Order, I think we had made a note just to put most current Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah, I do have that. Do you have the copy that I've provided?
I've
Yeah.
probably got several copies here.
Okay, so I've provided a copy that says the most recent version of Robert's
Oh,
Rules
got
of
it,
Order. Yeah,
got it.
cool.
Thanks.
No problem. Any feedback on the mayor roles and duties? I think it's pretty, I think it's pretty straightforward, yeah. If not, we can move on to the deputy mayor. Number 2 is the deputy mayor shall, in the absence or inability of the mayor to act, or if the office of mayor is vacant, act in the place of the mayor, and while so acting, he or she possesses the power and shall perform the duties of the mayor as designated under the Local Governance Act and by this bylaw. No feedback on that. I think that's pretty straightforward as well.
Did we get any clarification on the voting? Remember we talked about where the mayor don't vote, but if a deputy mayor or a councillor is assuming the seat, do they get the vote? And we said we better check the legalities of whether.
I haven't got that.
Yeah.
I haven't got that. So we're looking for the voting information.
Yeah, just on that, in that it mightn't fit here, but it just kind of popped in my head. Yeah. Yeah.
Does it specify, Cynthia, in 4? Oh, okay, okay. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay, the information that we're going to, okay, so item 2, and again, this one here, the numbering, we'll fix up the numbering because that's out of whack since we updated it. 2 dot, what should be 1, I suppose, or will be the election of the deputy mayor. So as it reads right now, it says council shall elect a deputy mayor at its second regular meeting in June, at which all elected members of council are present, and the term and position will be reevaluated and reelected biannually in June. The process for election of deputy mayor is interested councillors will submit their name for the position of deputy mayor and give a brief presentation not to exceed 2 minutes. Councillors, by open vote, will vote for the candidate of choice. Votes will be tabulated. A motion put on the floor accepting the successful candidate, and council will vote on the motion. Majority rule, deputy mayor will be elected. If there is a tie between candidates after section C, subsection 2.2C, then the names of the tied candidates will be put into a container and one name drawn as the successful candidate. A motion put on the floor accepting the successful candidate, and council will vote on the motion. Majority rule, deputy mayor will be elected. Is there any feedback from council on this?
I think in the previous discussion we had the other day, we said either a council member could put their name to the floor or somebody else could nominate. So I think it's one of the, we can add that council member by nomination or by submission of their own name can be. So I believe it was Councillor Corey who brought that up about nomination.
So if it's done by nomination, is there anything else that we should also include? Like, does there need to be like the formality of someone accepting it? So we should include that as well. So it can be done by nomination and it has to be accepted. Okay. Anything else on the election of the deputy mayor?
Just, if I may, if someone expresses interest in writing and submits it to council, that they're interested in the position of deputy mayor, and then the evening of the election, we take nominations from the floor, and someone gets nominated. Well, the order of succession will be the person who submitted their in writing would be first, and the nominator from the floor would be second. The order would then ask, or the chair would then ask the second place person, do they accept the nomination? And then go to the first place person. Not top to bottom, it's bottom to top.
Okay. So if somebody submits, then you're talking about when the resolutions are read. Like, okay, so the first one. So if you had submitted, but Jimmy was nominated on the floor, then when the chair is going through this, then it would be yours. His goes first. The second one goes first.
He would be second.
Okay.
Because I've already made my interest known.
Yeah.
In writing.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I've got my interest in writing. He gets nominated from the floor, he becomes second.
Okay.
But when you ask for, if you're going to accept the nomination, well, then you would ask him first and then go to the first place person who had their name in first.
Okay. So that's just for accepting.
I mean, we have to have a format on how this will be conducted, and I'm just, I mean, I put it this way, I've attended a lot of these with the Legion and other areas, and that's exactly how it was done. If you were nominated, and someone made their interest known, then they were added to the list, no question about that. But they were asked first if they're going to accept the nomination.
Okay. Okay, I think what we can do, what staff can do is, we'll take a look at other, the way that the wording is on other bylaws, and we'll just put something together to council for them to review, yeah. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll go on to the councillor roles and duties. So this reads that a councillor shall consider the welfare and interests of the entire municipality when making decisions, bring to the attention of council matters that may promote the welfare or interests of the municipality, participate in developing and evaluating the policies and programs of the municipality, participate in meetings of council, council committees, and any other body to which he or she is appointed by council, and perform any other duties conferred upon him or her by this or any other act or by council. Thoughts, feelings, concerns?
That's probably basically what's in the legislation, eh?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably-
I think it's just
pretty
echoing,
basic,
yeah.
Unless there's something changed from the local governance
No.
to the municipal, but.
Okay, good stuff. It is the duty of the chairperson to open meetings of council by taking the chair and calling the meeting to order. Receive and submit in the proper manner all written motions presented by members. Put it to a vote all questions which are regularly moved and seconded or necessarily arise in the course of proceedings. Determine what motions or amendments are in order, subject to an appeal to council, and decline to put any motion or amendment before council which he or she will add, deems to be out of order or contrary to the law. State every question coming before the council and announce the decision of the council on all subjects. Follow the rules of procedure and keep the members, when engaged in debate, within the rules of procedure. Observe and enforce on all occasions order and decorum among the members and the public. Call by name any member persisting in breach of the rules of procedure and order him or her to vacate the council chamber. Respond to council regarding points of order when so requested by a member or members. Represent and support council, declaring its will and implicitly obeying its decisions in all things. If he or she considers it necessary because of grave disorder, to adjourn the sitting. So the okay, yeah, so the one for me, it just, I mean, the small one that we're doing, so announcing item E, state every question before coming to council and announce the decision of the council on all subjects. I know the clerk's been doing that the last little bit. Maybe the clerk can do the vote tally and make sure we'll have the mayor announce the decision. That might just be a little cleanup thing that we can do. Anything else in here that council wants to address?
I think this is where you'll adjust whether the chair has voting privileges if it's not.
Yeah. Under
Right.
this section, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, because that would be specific to the chairperson and not necessarily to the mayor.
Well, the mayor is the chair, so.
Not
but-
always.
But it needs to be addressed here if the mayor is voting.
Yeah.
And then whether the deputy mayor, assuming the chair has voting privileges as well, because as it stands, Mario would not have the ability to vote. But we've had it that the deputy mayor can vote. And then if both of us are absent, then Ron chairs the meeting. Does he have a vote or not?
Yeah.
So those have,
Points of,
and it's always been just the mayor does not vote.
It's always
So
been just the mayor doesn't
yeah.
vote, and if the mayor is either in conflict or is not there,
Yeah.
and the deputy mayor is in the chair, the deputy mayor has always retained the ability to vote.
That's right. So,
So,
but
yeah.
some-
So we'll get
some-
the clarity around that, and yeah, okay.
Because I remember asking Andre Dag that one time, and he didn't have an answer readily.
Okay.
And then when Jacques Dubé said here, he said, well, no, if you're in the chair, you don't vote. So if, should really get it clarified
we'll
by
get some-
somebody.
we'll
who-
get some clarity
who can
around
really
that.
legally say, yes, you can
Yeah.
or can't.
Okay, good stuff. Anything else on the duty of the chairperson?
yeah, I just have questions about the wording in D. Determine what motions or amendments are in order, subject to an appeal of council, and decline to put any motion or amendment before council which he or, should be he or she, deems to be out of order or contrary to law.
That's interesting.
That, you know, I have issues with that one just based on past experience, we'll say. So I'm not sure if that belongs there or if there's some other way to word that so there is not potentially an abuse of power.
Yeah, this is a good conversation to have. This has been talked about a lot.
I know from when drafting this way back in the day, it wasn't intended for that, for the purpose of the mayor taking somebody's motion off the table. It was like that order. If somebody does an amendment, and then somebody does an amendment to an amendment, well, the last amendment gets voted on first, then they one up, and then you go to the main motion. So it was intended for that purpose. But then if it got construed, then it has to be reworded that it's meant for that purpose and not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
It
good
was never
context.
intended to give power to the mayor to take somebody's motion off the table. That's
Yeah.
not what it was for.
Okay.
Or exclude items from the agenda, right? So that's my
Okay, yeah,
concern.
but I think to Brenda's point, because with that bit of context, that makes things a little bit clearer here. So to determine what motions or amendments are in order, sorry, when I read that, I was thinking whether it's allowable, but it's actually the order.
I understand that, and that's how I interpreted the first part of that.
Yeah.
It's when you keep reading.
Subject to an appeal to council.
Then you can manipulate that to mean something else if you're so inclined, right?
Sure, yeah, if it was like Brenda said, if motion after amendment, okay, I'm putting an amendment on here, and then the mayor has the ability at some point to say, no, which you might not be the best use of power.
Basically, I know what you're saying is, and decline to put any motion or amendment before council. That's where it gets construed. Yeah. Which he deems to
So-
be out of order or contrary to law.
For example, and that could have meant too, for example, like, so if somebody has a main motion, I can't make an amendment to be contradictory to their main motion. That's not an amendment. An amendment means you're either adding words, taking away words, or, you know, you're adding something. But it can't be contradictory to, like, I move that we give a donation to, and then I want an amendment that we don't make a donation.
Right.
That's not what an amendment is meant to do.
Okay.
So it's just adding something extra, you know, add, delete words, but not to change the context of the motion. That's what
Okay.
an amendment does.
So that's good information then. So with that in mind, does council want to? Determine what motions or amendments are in order? That's it?
And I guess the decline would be if somebody was to put a motion that was an amendment to a motion that was contradictory to the main motion, then that would be a motion that's out of order.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's not a motion that, an amendment should not be that, worded that way, so, but we'd
So
have
if
to
you-
make it clearer. It'd have to
I
be-
think it's just a clarity thing. I don't know if we should, so maybe the staff will take that and just see if we can make that a little bit more clearer about what that is, because that is good context. And I do think you probably want to have the mayor have that ability, that your point was perfect, right? I'm making a motion that we're making this donation. I'm making the motion that we're not. Yeah, yeah.
We do not.
Yeah, exactly. So you would need the mayor to have the ability to,
Inappropriate amendment.
okay, so that's good. Let's see if we can clean that up. Anything else from council around the duty of the chairperson? Do we want to open that can of worms around the ability, where it's specified? I don't even know where that would come in later on the bylaw, about the ability to not have agenda items on the agenda. The information that we're getting, I know that Jacques Dubé mentioned that. It's been a contentious thing. I know not just with Beldoon, right across the board, there's been a lot of people that ask that, right? Who is the final say on what agenda items get put onto the agenda? And
Like I said, from what I've been reading and experience, like I said, if council want to put something on the agenda, it should, it should, I think we've got to make the format of how we do that. Like, we've got to hold a council responsible to say, if you're going to put an agenda item on, you've got to do the reporting thing, you've got to put the information in there, you've got to put the proposed motion, you got to get it to the clerk's office in time, and that council gets to see all that in their package before the meeting.
yeah.
If you don't meet that criteria, then it's not about what you want to put on the agenda, it's you're not meeting the criteria.
Yeah.
So if they follow the criteria, there should be nothing taken off of there. And then when it gets to the table, it's in the hands of council then to debate.
And I think Andre's been very clear on that. You set the parameters of how items are put on the agenda, and if you follow the criteria, they're on the agenda. Whether you like my agenda item, don't like it, it doesn't matter. I've submitted it properly. So if it's properly submitted, it goes on the agenda,
Okay.
right?
And then the final decision goes to council if they're gonna support the motion or defeat the motion.
That's what debate's for. And like I said, it doesn't put the onus on anybody then, well, do I put this on the agenda because it might be controversial, or do I? No, that's not your job. I mean, your job is, it's gonna be controversial issues come across council table. You deal with them in a respectful manner in a way that you should. So, like I said, we're probably gonna have to put something in our bylaw in relation to how council submits their items to.
Sure,
And
yeah,
they gotta
that-
meet the criteria. If they
yeah.
don't meet the criteria and the timeline, then that's, it's not on the agenda because.
Just playing the devil's advocate and speaking from experience, like, what if a counselor, if it goes against the advice that you're receiving from your lawyer and says, I want this on the agenda, and the rest of council says, look, we don't want it there.
Okay, well, I guess if there's staff or have that information, when we're doing the agenda, if the item is there, they could add it, they could add that context, that here's the lawyer's, stated this, right? So that at that time, I guess we have to have a procedure in place that how it gets removed. But it would have to be at the table to get removed, not before it gets to the table.
Yeah, and that's.
And that's where, somebody could
adoption
say,
of the agenda.
Make a motion, I refer that this item be deferred to our legal counsel for further evaluation. Somebody seconds it, it doesn't get out.
Yeah, and that's
There's
what
ways to
council
handle
has
it.
done in the past, is they use the adoption of the agenda, but again, like Cynthia has raised that, you don't want that to be mismanaged, right? You don't want to have that, so I do think that there needs to be some framework around that.
That's where I think where I said that if staff or knows that there's legal has, you can add that on the agenda for the council to see that, right? When they get their package as well. So that when they get in the meeting, they know, well, maybe this is not supposed to be out publicly yet. So it just takes the councilor stepping up and referring it to a closed session, a committee of whole, refer it to the lawyer, you can refer it till you get what you need before it becomes public.
Okay, I do think that a little bit later on, I'll make some notes here as we go, but I do think there is some stuff already on how things are getting submitted, so we'll just make sure when we get to that point that all those boxes are checked there for council. Okay, moving on from that, we have the clerk or his or her designate shall take minutes of each council meeting, which minutes shall record without note or comment the place, date, and time of meetings, the name or places of the presiding members or members and the record of attendance of the members and senior staff members, the adoption of the minutes of prior meetings and if requested correction, and all resolutions, decisions, and other proceedings of council. Again, probably coming right from the act on this stuff. But if there's any feedback on this?
I would say so. That's probably right out of the legislation.
Yeah.
Now, in this space here, because Angela is reading the motions, do you want to specify it in here?
I think there's someplace further along where it says something about the mayor states the motions. I think it's under meetings and where it's got motions.
Okay.
I think it said it in there something about the mayor, so we can just switch that at that time.
Okay.
Okay. Meetings of council. A newly elected council shall not transact any business at its first meeting until the oaths of office have been taken and subscribed to by persons present who have been elected to office, and in the event of a recount, a quorum is present. Unless otherwise specified, unless otherwise specifically set out in notice of meetings, all meetings of council will be held at the Beldoon Municipal Council Chamber at 2471. That's been adjusted. That was our old address. Main Street, Beldoon, New Brunswick, and commence at 7 p.m. Unless otherwise. A regular or special meeting of council shall adjourn at the hour of 10 p.m. if in session at that time, and shall reconvene at such other day and time as council by resolution may direct. Council may agree to an extension of a meeting beyond 10 p.m. but not beyond 11 p.m. if a majority vote of the members agree to do so. Council meetings which are not closed to the public in accordance with the provision of this bylaw may be taped, televised, or otherwise electronically or mechanically recorded by a cable television company or by any other licensed communications company or any applicable platform approved by the Village of Beldoon. Might need some changes to this one. It's up to you
I don't
guys.
see
This
the
has
table,
been,
the cable and,
yeah.
maybe taped, well, yeah. Maybe recorded.
So we had, this was obviously a very, very hot topic with the last council. So there was quite a lot of language that we had put together around, the recording of meetings, by people present. Effectively, the information that we got from legal at the time was that, you know, it's ultimately permissible. You are elected officials having a public meeting in a public setting discussing public affairs. So just the inherent nature, although we already are recording and you know, in most cases live streaming, which by the way, we're not doing tonight. Our live streaming is down, so we'll have to upload this to YouTube. But effectively, it is permissible unless it says, you know, in your bylaw that it is not permissible. So if you would like for recordings not to happen, this would probably be the place that you want to adjust that. The scenario that was provided by legal previously was effectively, you know, the chair, and as we get through this, the chair has the ability to remove people on any given moment, or you know, if they're being unruly, if there's a reason to, but it ultimately falls down to the chair on having that person removed. So if there was somebody who was recording and didn't have the permission from council to record, then the duty would fall on the mayor or on the chairperson to say, you know, ask for them to stop recording. If they didn't, notify them that they would have to, you know, they'd be asked to leave if they don't stop. If they don't stop, let them know that the police would escort them out. If they don't stop, then the police get called, and effectively you go into recess until the police come and remove the person. You re-adjourn and you carry on.
I don't have any issue with live recording. No.
Neither do I.
It's a non-issue.
I don't
I'll
understand.
do it all day long. I'll sit on a podcast, you name it. People want to hear you. So people want to hear what you have to say, and sometimes issues are controversial. You have to deal with them.
Anything else? Any other feedback? We can leave as is.
Because I think with this here, how we set up our agenda, when it comes to public question period, I think
Yes.
it's going to address a lot of that. And
Yeah.
that's why I said with where I've looked at others and it's in there, like where question period was at the beginning of a meeting. They gave 10 minutes for public question, but it had to be something on the agenda. So the person, say, you'd have a 10-minute question period, you get 2 minutes per person. And it has to be on an item that you want to discuss that was on the agenda. Then after that, the question period's over for the public. If they want to make a presentation to council, then they do it through the formal process of making a public presentation at a formal meeting. But I think we can correct that recording and, somebody in your face trying to get you say something you shouldn't. I think that could be addressed pretty easily if we fix it on the agenda as to when the public can ask questions.
And that just to sort of reinforce that, I do think that a lot of that kind of knee-jerk reaction around the recordings was specifically due to that. There was like an inability to control that component of it. So I do think that as council works through this and you kind of realign how you're doing that, I think a lot of it's going to be alleviated.
And I think if we're going to make the agendas more open to the public, like where they get most of what we get, except stuff that's private, confidential, or whatever that we can't disclose. So if we go in that route, they're going to get the agenda information, so they're going to have the information to come ask the question on the agenda item. And if we stick to that rule, I think we'll eliminate a lot of because they were just saying question period, but it's no longer on recorded, right? Well, this will be recorded as part of our meeting, but in the beginning.
Just on that note, how would we answer agenda items without them being discussed first?
No, but sometimes, well, that's what I mean, you can't really answer it. I mean, the mayor will control that, but I mean, they may not even be a question. It might be something that they can give us information that we don't even know about, right? So it can be that of a benefit to council too, as well, to say, we didn't think of that, or we didn't know that. So when they do get to the agenda item, they might have another little tidbit of information that they otherwise wouldn't have known, kind of thing. Questions, you can't answer the question until council, but it has to be regarded to the agenda item,
Yeah, and it could be maybe structured as a point of information for council on the agenda item.
Sorry, I personally have no issue with that either, except, like we already discussed, meetings have to be kept in order. And I think we have a great council, and I think if, like Councilor Cormier said, if things are followed properly, hopefully the public is going to realize that, and we won't go down roads that we've already been on. But it comes from respect given, respect earned, and that's my opinion.
And the onus falls on the mayor's back to control it all.
Yeah.
Are we doing this line by line? We're on page 7 of 18.
We're not. I don't think that you're going to get through the whole thing. I mean, if you want to skip through however you want to do this, if you want to do it by line, we don't. I mean, we can just keep an eye on the clock and say, look, we're going to wrap this up at whatever time, 8:45 or 9 o'clock, if that's what you want to do. But yeah. Yeah, by motion of council. Yeah. See, the problem is that your COWs are not prescribed in here. You haven't got to that point yet. You need to add them in. We can kind of do it. I figured that you guys were going to need at least one more meeting for this, Ron, to kind of get this wrapped up. So however you guys want to do this, we don't have to do it line by line, but okay. So if there's no other feedback on those items, what you're getting into here is around regular meeting and sort of the formality of that. So it probably is not a whole lot that you need to change for your regular meeting, except for its first meeting in a term of council otherwise provided. Regular meetings shall be held on the third Monday of every month. So again, that one was one that we raised. We'll get into items later on around how far ahead council is notified. In my opinion, I feel that council needs more notice on I'm not comfortable, well, I've put myself in the position of a counselor. I don't feel that having a weekend to review some stuff, especially if you've got a heavy agenda, is enough time. I'd like to give you more time on that. So whether that's adjusting the meetings or the time that things get submitted, we can have that discussion as we go. But it does, right now, your bylaw says that on the third Monday of every month, you're having your regular council meeting. If it falls on a holiday, the meeting shall be at the same hour the following day, not being a holiday, unless otherwise determined by council. The clerk shall make every reasonable effort to notify the public that it's 24 hours notice preceding the date and the hour of the meeting. We do have the messenger and we do have the Village of Beldoon website specified as the notification. Is there any feedback on this? Is there anything that the council wants to talk about with the regular meetings? Or are we good with the third Monday of every month?
I believe our last meeting concerning this, I don't know how council feels or if there's any interest, but we talked about Wednesdays because there's so many holidays on Mondays. And Wednesday gives the staff a little more heads up time rather than scrambling on Friday. You got till Wednesday. We talked about it, but I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but it seems like it'd be just a little more easier to operate for everybody.
Yeah, and that conversation, that was derived, and I've sort of expressed this to council before. There's this whole process that you're going through when you get a new council in. All municipalities are going through this process, so that's where it's really come up around these the conversations around that with administration. And we are getting. I have talked to quite a few communities that do have them on the Wednesday, and they just find that it's a lot more smooth. Exactly for the reasons that you said, Jimmy. There's not often, unless you have a Canada Day or a day that's set. There's not too many that are on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, it does allow for if there's some clarity that needs to happen with administration, council has questions, then you have that opportunity. One of the concerns I did have was around the Service Commission. I just didn't want to step on their toes because I do know that they have, and we obviously with Mario and Cynthia appointed, then they would have an obligation to attend those meetings. But
So their meeting is the third Wednesday.
Okay.
So if we did ours second and fourth,
yeah,
then the third, right, then they're staggered well enough.
yeah. So if council wanted to entertain that, we could move then the regular council meeting, that we would change this and say that it would be on the fourth Wednesday of every month. Is there always a fourth? There's always a fourth Wednesday, right? Yes. There's gotta be. I would hope. At least. Yeah. So you could do the fourth Wednesday of every month if council wanted to try to change those to Wednesday evenings.
I'm good with the idea.
You like that idea?
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah? Okay.
And then when we get into the committee of whole, we can talk about the second one.
So your committee of whole,
Could be the second Wednesday.
we can actually probably talk about right now because you don't have a committee of whole in here. So right now, the way this reads, you've got your regular meeting, it's prescribed on when it is and where it is. It tells you how to spell to call your special meeting, but committee of whole is not on here. So this is right where we would insert it. So what we can do with administration is if you guys would like for that to be scheduled in, we'll just use the same language. We'll tweak it, whatever we need to do to do it,
yeah.
but it would be the second weekend, the second Wednesday of every week. Excuse me, every month, every week. It's late, Dawn. Late for me. Second Wednesday, COW. Okay. And then we would also have the same thing, because that would be a scheduled meeting. We would also have that notification, and then we would try to get that up 24 hours before. That also really helps out with the notifications as well. Okay, that's a great conversation. We'll draft that up and we'll get that added in.
So with that, I don't know if it's gonna be down here probably later. So we'd still get our information on a Friday.
Yep.
the clerk would still, or the CEO would still receive their information by the 2 o'clock on the Thursday?
Yeah,
Or
I
would you
think
prefer that on
It's further on. I think it's, right
Yeah.
now it reads 4 o'clock, I think.
yeah, whatever it is, but I mean, if you do it on a Thursday, you gotta get it to it Friday, it doesn't give you guys much time to get that package pulled together, right? If we're at 2 o'clock on Thursday or whatever time to get our information in, you guys gotta have it done by Friday. So we could almost go to a Wednesday for our submissions as well, right? And that will give you like a day and a half at least, or to get, would
Yeah,
that
we can-
make better
yeah.
sense? Maybe it's further on there, but I'm.
Just going back to the regular meeting and
Sorry.
item number 3, when you look at the ways that we can communicate the
Yeah.
posting, do we have a official Village of Beldoon Facebook page?
That's a good question. So, yes and no. I mean, we have a page that we use and we run everything through. In my mind, it's not official because we don't have a proper communications policy that specifies. I think that this website is used in this bylaw and a couple bylaws, so that at least formalizes the website. But the Facebook page, in my opinion, I really like to see that tightened up. I would really like to see. So maybe what we can take from that, Mario, is it would take nothing for us to put together a framework for a communications policy.
Yep.
So that might be just something that we can put together, and then the details around that. I would really, it's not just the Village of Beldoon. What I'm always cognizant of is there's like satellite Facebook pages that are sort of peripherally tied, and it's like, you want to kind of have a bit of control over that, right? You don't
Yeah.
want someone presenting themselves as the Village of Beldoon, right?
Yeah, one of the things we were looking at was a social media policy that could tie into the communications policy. And also, verified pages through Facebook so that it's more official as an organization versus just somebody creating a page, so.
Yeah, because I kind of, when we get into that, I kind of wrote on mine, I put the clerk or designate shall provide to each member, which is council, notice of the time of the regular meeting and the business to be transacted. Now will be no later than Friday before the day of the fixed meeting.
Right.
That notice and documentation shall be provided to the council via their management system, which is the iCompass, and via or email, right?
Right.
So which is what so on the public, I put public notice of regular meetings of council shall be given by posting such notice on the Village of Beldoon official website, Beldoon Facebook, and in the Beldoon newsletter at least, it says at least one day, working day prior to the meeting.
Okay.
So that would mean if the meetings are on Wednesday, the public notice could go out on Tuesday, if that makes sense.
So when you're
Okay.
talking about updating, changing from Mondays to Wednesdays, is that gonna be like starting in September or when?
Yeah, it's a good question. Really, it should only happen after this gets adopted, right? So I would say, yeah, it's a good question. So I would say we would probably keep with what's in the bylaw until we get to the point where, which, I mean, it could be as soon as September, right? Yeah, actually, or you could call special meetings if you wanted to, if you wanted to expedite it, yeah.
August, September, and it'll kick in October.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good question, but we would maintain these dates for now. Okay, cool. So we're gonna add in COW, regular meeting, special meeting. Again, this is mostly right out of legislation. Mayor or any 3 members of council upon written petition may, at any time, call a special meeting of council on 24 hours' notice to the clerk and members of council. Written petition, I'm assuming, I don't know if we need to include email, electronic, written. I don't know if that's understood with written petition. Maybe we can do a little bit of legwork on that, administration can, just to see how others are phrased, but I would suspect that email is fine.
Again, when they talk about the notice of any special meeting, a copy in the council member's municipal mailbox, which
Yeah.
don't exist anymore.
Right.
A voicemail message, which Nobody, anybody even copy at the place of residence. I mean, that was the old days when I delivered stuff. So you could just put via the village meeting manager system, iCompass, or email.
Okay, notice of any special meetings, so-called shall be circulated in writing to members of council by the clerk and distributed by leaving a copy of the notice. So
None of that makes sense
take that
anymore.
out.
A, B, C, and it's just via the village's meeting manager system, which is iCompass, and/or via email.
Okay,
I'll send you some of this wording there, so make it.
sure. Makes sense. This is an important one. Council shall not consider any business at a special meeting except matters specified in the notice. So whenever we have a special meeting, then we would adopt the agenda, but there's not an option at a special meeting for any additions or deletions.
Yeah, I would end that there.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have a special meeting and you wouldn't have two items, but.
No,
once-
no, you can have more than one item.
Once it's on the agenda, that's it. That's it.
Exactly.
You can't be adding things
Yeah.
just by the members present at that meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Just take that last sentence out.
Like we said before, adding things onto agenda, any special, regular, last minute, does not give council or staff the opportunity to be able to do what they might need to do to get the information they need. So it's kind of unfair to do that. So the less we can add last minute agenda items, the better.
Okay, clerk basically says for a special meeting, post a notice on the website as soon as possible. Anything that we want to add on that, that's good? I mean, we don't want to get into kind of Facebook stuff here, do we? Because then we're making sure that I don't think that Facebook is going anywhere anytime soon, but.
Well, I think you have to, as many avenues for public to know that there's a.
So we
right?
do it, we do it internally anyway. We still do it. It's just not, we kind of go over it above. It's not prescribed in the bylaw. And I'm almost wondering, like, if you do kind of say, now we are going to make sure that we add it to Facebook as part of the bylaw. Is that really something we want to do, or we just want to leave it on the website? We're still doing it. We can have an internal process to say we're posting it on Facebook, right? It's just, I wonder if you're kind of,
Eventually, it's gonna.
Yeah, but if that's where people, if that's where I go for my information.
Yeah.
And then it's not consistent, then it's like, people start to feel like they're being purposely left out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And
So
the-
I think it has to be prescribed. It's like, we're posting information here, here, and here.
okay.
And if we're absolutely honest, the website is not the easiest thing to navigate. If you, it's not
I
easy
never-
for a navigation to find
never
stuff.
use that
So,
website.
like you said, a lot of people go to Facebook.
Oh, I'll guarantee you more people get the information off of Facebook than they do off of the website, that's for sure.
Just a point here, I know, somebody spoke before and they talked about Facebook, where they said, I'm not on Facebook, so I don't go. I said, I'm not on Facebook, but I can go to the village's Facebook page and I can get the information. They think because they're not a Facebook user themselves or subscriber, that they can't use it. I said, yes, all the information. So maybe we should put something in our newsletter there at some point to say, like, just because you're not a Facebook subscriber yourself, you can still go view the Village of Beldoon
really?
Facebook. Yeah. A lot of people don't think they can. Yeah, they just don't think they can use it because they're not.
I didn't know that you could. I thought you had to have a
No,
profile.
I don't have a Facebook page. I can get on the Village of Beldoon Facebook and find out stuff.
'cause
But a lot of people don't think you can do that.
Yeah, because most people for the Beldoon Days itinerary, they just Google it and it pops up and you can access it and you don't need to log in. Yeah. Yep. Adding to that, I would say eventually where we're gonna have a communications policy is we could do as per our communications policy.
Right. Yeah.
And we'd have a standard approach for different items like Facebook, LinkedIn.
All right, cool. Cancellation or rescheduled. Whenever possible, the clerk shall make every reasonable effort to give public notice of a canceled or rescheduled meeting or of the change of time or location by posting notice to the public on the Village of Belledune website before the date and time on which the council meeting was to have been held. So that one again, we can yeah, add Facebook and tie that to a communications.
Are your meetings advertised on the site?
I think so. I don't know. I think that, yeah, I'm not sure. I think that, I think she does. Brittany's getting pretty good with that sign. Yeah. I'll ask. It's a good question. So emergency meeting, which is, again, that's out of your, legislation, that's out of your local governance act, but it's a little bit more, easier to call, so you don't need 3 members of council, you only need the 2. So it's the mayor, or in the absence of the mayor, the deputy mayor may call an emergency meeting of council when deemed necessary. In the absence of the mayor and deputy mayor, any 2 remaining councillors may call an emergency meeting. The clerk shall call the meeting to order, and a chairperson shall be chosen from the members present, who shall preside during the meeting or until the arrival of the mayor or deputy mayor. When such an emergency meeting is called, it shall be considered a special meeting, except that the time requirements for notice of special meetings shall not apply, and only the subject matter of the emergency shall be considered. The clerk shall use his or her best efforts to give notice of the emergency meeting and the purposes of the meeting to each member, either verbally or in writing, and notice shall be given as far in advance of the meeting as practicable. An emergency meeting may be conducted in person or from remote locations by use of telecommunications. I don't know if there's any feedback on that or if there's any information that you want for us to find out. I think most of that is out of the legislation.
And if you go back to the definitions, it's got emergency meeting means a meeting convened. It says here pursuant to section 4, but the section's probably wrong.
Yeah.
Of this bylaw for local state of emergency or public safety matters.
Okay.
So it's important that that's what an emergency meeting is for. It's an emergency,
Meeting convened pursuant to
not
section
an individual's emergency, public safety.
for local state of emergency or public safety matters.
Yeah, we might have to take out that pursuant to section, or once we know what the section is, we can put the proper one in.
On the emergency meeting?
You all have the definition,
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, the important part is the definition.
Yep. No, that's no problem. Okay, cool. So then we are getting into closed meetings. So closed meetings, again, right out of the legislation, the only changes we made on this were updating the language. It was different in the Municipalities Act, and it's been updated for the Local Governance Act. So anything that you have in the red font in the draft that I sent out is changes that were done in the legislation. Same as number 2 on that. Before a meeting or part of the meeting is closed to the public, council must state by resolution the fact that the meeting is closed to the public and the basis under section 61 on which the meeting is to be closed. We have seen other communities, I don't think that's been the practice in Belledune, but we passed the resolution to go to the closed meetings. I've seen other communities that pass a resolution to reopen the public side. I can get information if council wants on that. We've never done that in Belledune. I don't think that it's mandatory. But we can certainly find that out. The next item is if a meeting of council is closed to the public, no decisions shall be made at the meeting except for decisions related to procedural matters, directions to an officer of the municipality, or directions to a solicitor of the municipality. Again, that would be coming from your act. A record of the closed meetings shall be prepared and signed by the clerk containing only the following. The type of matter under subsection 68 of the Local Governance Act that was discussed during the meeting, and the meeting, the date of the meeting. So that's important to note for closed sessions like the one that we just held in the meeting minutes. That's all that the clerk would capture is the reason that we went into closed meeting and the date. So if anyone ever came looking for the meetings on a closed meeting, that's all that they would receive.
Okay, I have a problem with that in terms of like meeting notes versus minutes. So, there has to be a record for council of what is discussed in closed meetings. And this it becomes an issue when you get the, oh, I don't remember that was said, or no, I didn't say that. Like, I think there has to be some formal way of going back into what was the directive given in a closed meeting and what transpired. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
It's because it can become a huge issue, right? And it has become a huge issue in the past. So there needs to be some formal record and some way of saying we're keeping a formal record.
Yeah.
So that just to keep everything straight, right?
100%. And the other thing too that's always bugged me is that some of the most important conversations that you're having are back there. Right. And then the other thing that kind of bugs me is that I can take notes and you can take notes and they might not say the same thing. Right. And then we're going to, this has been brought up before. I think maybe the best point here is to go to legal and just get some advice on it. I do know that when it was raised before, the suggestion had made and it was presented as a best practice only. My understanding is that the formality of having the notes would not, they don't necessarily stand up. But for internal practices, it was suggested that what we do is that we do take notes, we do capture those, and when council has a closed session and we collect this information, when you have your next closed session, you do it again and you go back into that, you formalize those notes in the closed session. It never actually comes to the public, but you all go in there, and when you have your following one, you basically do a microcosm of your adopting your meeting minutes effectively. That's what you're doing. Your notes, and you all collectively look at the notes that were captured in the closed session and say, okay, yes, we're agreeing that these are the notes that were kept. It never is front facing. Yeah.
Sorry, that would be weird though, because if, like, let's say, for example, we're going behind to talk about land acquisition tonight. And then in a month and a half, we're gonna go behind closed doors to talk about employment issues. Then we're gonna look at the minutes for land acquisition. It's just a weird.
Yeah.
And you've got people waiting, like,
It
it's
would
just.
be your previous, and that's exactly right. That like you would go to a closed session right now. We went in for contracts and agreements today. So first of all, I don't know when your next closed session is going to be. Could be in 6 months down the road, right? So it could be 6 months down the road, but then in principle, what would happen is you go back in there 6 months down the road. Here's the meeting notes from August the 4th. I can't even see that. That's brutal. August the 4th, and this is what was discussed. You're right. You'd have something totally different on that in that closed session. So it was just a way that that was presented to us. This is a way that you can kind of do it as an internal process. Ultimately, that's all it is, and those notes really don't stand up for anything. But we'll take it. A lot of people are asking the same questions, right? Because so if you like, we'll take that back and maybe get a legal opinion on it.
Yeah, because to me, it would make the most sense to approve those at the regular, the public doesn't have access to them anyway, but approve them
Okay.
on a regular, like, we approve the minutes of the special meeting, the
And the
committee
closed.
hold, the notes, just approve all of the notes and minutes at the same regular meeting, and then it's done.
Sure, we can.
I believe there's a reason why they say you're not taking notes. And at the end of the day, behind the closed session, you go there to discuss and have, listen to other opinions and that type of thing. But the other point is that once you're behind closed doors, you got to come to this table. And this is where the motions are made. So it doesn't matter what was said in there, in my opinion, doesn't matter. It comes down to that council is going to vote the way council wants to vote, and majority rules.
It's the details behind closed doors that matter, and they don't always get conveyed in a yay or nay at the table, right?
Sorry, can I just, Can I just chime in for a moment? Just because I had gone to a clerk, I guess it was course or something, when I first started, and that was one of the big things that came up was closed meetings. And they were very adamant that absolutely not. You just, the date, the time, and that's it, and absolutely no notes, no minutes, no anything from closed meetings. I think it had, if I recall now, it was a couple of years ago, but they were really heavy on the RTIPA side of it, and now this is, available, and nothing from the closed meeting should be coming out, so I'm just conveying that they were very adamant that it not happen at that meeting.
Was your session being given by local government? Was it a local government or was it
It
an
was,
independent?
I'm trying to think, it was at the University of Moncton, and it was through AMANB, I believe.
Okay.
Or UMNB, I can't remember, it was one of them that was putting it on.
Probably AMANB if
I
it was
believe
at
it was,
university.
It
yes.
was Barb Quigley and, yeah, it was some former clerks, yeah. Barb and Brenda Knight? Probably.
And I understand, like, because like you said, being in that position, once you do take notes, I mean, if you have a Post-it note on your desk, it can be accessible. It's a record. That's how, but the other side is sometimes directives are given, or decisions are kind of directive or consensus is given in a closed meeting, never gets back to the council, never got back to the council table for a decision. And it was, and anyhow.
Things go sideways quick, and it's that's the only protection in the end that council has is what was actually discussed versus, do you know what I mean? Like I can give you an example later.
Yeah, no, and it's a good point. I think that, and like Ron had suggested, and that's the concept, is that what you're doing behind there, ultimately, it needs to, whatever's discussed, and I've seen it go sideways, right? Where there's things that were discussed that were not captured.
It's the difference between theory and practice.
Yeah.
Right?
Hopefully that's avoidable with strong administration.
I guess with council too, if they were behind closed doors and they kind of, well, where is this that didn't come across our desk?
Right.
Like we were in a closed session, a month's gone by, and there was a directive, and now we have to make a decision. Where is it? It's not on our desk. Like, why isn't it on our desk? Why don't we see it, And that's not leaning on administration. I was just saying things can go sideways from other areas too.
Okay, so we're at the end of that. I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if we want to, because we're kind of getting close to 9 o'clock here. I don't know if this is something that we can take and provide some updates on, or you want to keep it on?
I would say we can
Wrap this up.
stop here and then do all the edits. What's council's thoughts?
Yeah, there was just one under that section, and I took it again from somebody else's bylaw, which they said, members of council and staff shall not discuss the matters considered during a closed meeting other than with other members or senior staff or as directed by council. So it kind of puts that out very clear that you're not supposed to. Like I'm saying, everybody says they know the rules, but if you don't put them in black and white, it's very clear.
Totally agree.
So that could be one that we could add in there,
Yep.
So are we gonna have another meeting to continue this, or you guys? gonna
We
do it?
are. So what we'll
Okay.
do right now is, because we don't properly have a committee of whole meeting scheduled in our procedural bylaw, for now, we don't have that. What we'll need to do is set the next date for the committee of whole meeting now, and Angela will capture that in the meeting minutes, and then that allows for us. However, council already has set the date for your next committee of whole meeting, which is next Tuesday, August the 11th, at 1:00 PM.
Yep.
that was the budget.
So that is going to be adjusting the budget. So that's going to be a committee of whole meeting. It's going to be arranged as a committee of whole meeting, same format as this, but it will be specific to the budget, beginning the budget. After we wrap up that meeting, at the end of that meeting, we can set the next committee of whole meeting for whatever council wants, and whether it's a budget meeting or whether it's a bylaw and policy, you can direct staff on that.
Yep.
August the 11th, that's next Tuesday at 1 PM.
Yep.
So can we commit to finishing this? Because the first and second reading is supposed to be at the August meeting.
Okay, so if we are the first and second reading, then no, you're gonna need to have, because you've got your council meeting. So when is
20th.
our council meeting is gonna
20th.
be? August the 17th?
17?
Yeah.
Okay, so the August the 17th. So if you're looking to do your first and second reading of this bylaw on the 17th, then we'll get the drafts off. I'm out of the office Wednesday, Thursday. I'm back in the office on Friday, so I can have all the drafts completed for Friday. But you'll need to set another date outside of that August 11th, because the 11th is arranged for budget. So you'll need to set another at least one more meeting. And hopefully at that meeting, you're gonna have the entirety done, drafts are received, you got it all greenlit for first and second reading of the 17th. I'll get a little bit of clarity around this, but you can do a first and second reading on a draft, and you can make changes to that before you do your third reading.
Okay.
So we could at least do the first and second reading for the 17th, and if there is additional changes to it, those changes can be made and agreed to by council, and then the third reading is done.
Yeah, and I can even be available for Friday afternoon to go through the draft, so, yeah.
Yeah, like you were saying, like you can make, so the first and second readings, you wouldn't read this in its entirety.
Right.
You would read by title.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what you would do. And then if you want to then give your time to amend or do some additions or something to the third reading. I was kind of looking at, this is a long bylaw to read at a public meeting, right? So if we can find out, if we can post after the first and second reading by title, and if we have to do some more fixes to it, if we could post it before the third reading on our website for public viewing, then we wouldn't have to read it in its entirety, like that would be sufficient. I believe there's a 10-day, you have to do it 10 days before the meeting, but I'm not sure if it has to be for the first and second, or if it could apply to the third.
Okay, I'll find
So
out.
maybe if you check that with some of the local governance people.
Yeah.
'Cause I mean, it will be a long bylaw to read at a public meeting, and if we can do it that way, either make it on our website that it could be viewed there in a draft form, and then, or they can come and see a copy here, then it would save all that reading in its entirety at the third
Okay.
reading.
Cool.
Okay, mind if I ask, that was been decided when I wasn't here, right?
That's right, and we, yeah. I had reached out through a phone call, just to give you a heads up on it, so that was.
Yeah. And so we're gonna stop with that stuff, and I know that Councillor Burke wanted to mention something about the Beldoon Days, quickly.
Just a general comment, that the tremendous success of our Beldoon Days, just outstanding how people have come together and got together. As the activities that went on, and I will speak for the Royal Canadian Legion, are very, very much appreciated, to the success of our Legion. And that is attributed to the Village of Beldoon, cooperating with a nonprofit organization. So certainly on behalf of the Royal Canadian Legion, we extend our sincere appreciation for your recognition of what we do in the community. Our Ladies Auxiliary are second to none and do an outstanding job, and they also certainly extend their appreciation for what council represents to our village and to our Legion. With that statement, I do want to make it said that that I am the first Vice President of New Brunswick Command, and I have used the Village of Beldoon dozens of times already, in the sense of saying that every council, every Legion in New Brunswick should have a strong affiliation with its local council. And that has been worked on by some legions now. And, I just believe that it's a positive step forward for council to be recognized with the Legion. And it is a tremendous asset for the Legion to be recognized by council. So certainly on behalf of the Royal Canadian Legion and New Brunswick Command, we send our sincere appreciation for everything the council does for our Legion here in Beldoon. So it's a tremendous, tremendous asset for our Legion and the success that we see at our Legion. So I wanted to pass the message on to council and this council that, our Legion members recognize what the affiliation we have with council, and it certainly is appreciated, and all we can say is thank you very much for your support.
Thank you, Councillor Burke. And I also wanted to take a little opportunity to thank all of the staff and Daryl and the students. They did a great job during the past week, and to me it was a success. So I just reaffirm what Councillor Burke had mentioned, and it was a great Beldoon days. We had good fireworks, even though the weather was kind of raining, but thank you. And moving on, there's no administrative reports, so we'll move to adjournment.
Motion 87, that the meeting be adjourned at 8:59.
Do
So moved.
I have a seconder? All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.